Association.
I know how that goes. Yeah, I know. It has been, yeah, but at least it was for a good reason.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
For
trying to...
us, last week we had Radha-yatra.
You did?
From Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was busy there. Cooking, getting this, whatnot.
Good.
You remember Kaushik Prabhu there in
Yes.
San Jose?
Yeah.
He and his wife came. So
okay.
we cooked Friday for 80 people in the morning, 80 people in the evening.
That small number, 80 is nothing for you.
But only for temple.
People.
Only for temple. But in a whole day, we cut the vegetables for Radha-yatra.
You should have called Sukomal Radhe Mataji. She would have helped you.
Yeah, I know. No, but you were busy. There also you're busy there, no? Yeah. I missed that. Yeah. I missed all that.
Yeah. I had put your name there as one of the invitees, and then Guruma asked me that. She said that, isn't she up there in the with her daughter? And I said, yes, but she has this habit of surprising.
I always send the messages to him. Now, all his classes or anything, if I do the messages.
Very nice. Yeah.
And then I think she said she's going to send Lakshmi also there, because we missed before sending, but my daughter said she's sending Lakshmi.
Fantastic. So this is good. And I see Varshana Mataji has also joined. And yeah. So we have Sukomal Radhe Mataji's sister-in-law in the form of by the name of Hina, but she's right now using Nisha's
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So Hina Mataji, Varshana Mataji, or Varsha Malik, as it shows there. She's from India. She's joining us really early in the morning, 6:30. For this class, you can see the darkness in the room. So that's there. And Meera Mataji is joining us here. Meera Mataji, unmute yourself and tell us, where are you
Varshana
from?
Mataji is there.
There you go.
Hare Krishna, Varshana Mataji.
So, and Poonam is also joining us. Fantastic. And so Poonam, so Meera is from Merced, and Poonam Mataji is joining us here. She's from the Bay Area. So happy to have you all here. So let us get started, and there'll be some amount of recap that we'll have to do, right? To see where we are. Oh my goodness, Kathy has joined us. Ooh.
The little one is so cute. The little one is so
She must have found no other class to come to this one today. I'm just so happy to have you all here. Poonam Mataji also. Good. So maybe then it's time for us to get started, right? And we are broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook for sure, I can say that for sure. And let me just come up over here and offer my obeisances to the devotees watching us online. Here we go. There we go. And you know what? Our Sutapa Mataji is online, watching us online. Hey, Sutapa, come on Zoom. What are you doing there on Facebook?
I sent a message to her. Is it 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam. Jai Shri
Hare Krishna. Kathy, show us the little one. Is she awake?
Yes, or? Mataji, 1 second.
So I sent a nice message to Kathy.
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Where is she?
Hare Krishna.
Come on. Oh God. She's smiling so good.
She's going to attend the class.
Yeah, now listening to the class.
She's going to give a class.
Give a class. Okay.
The way she was responding, I was thinking that she's really...
she's trying to talk. She's
really
trying
ready.
to talk.
Yeah, she's ready for Krsna Katha.
Like that, she's saying.
Okay.
No.
So we'll mute ourselves now.
That's Krsna Katha.
Yeah, we'll mute.
Okay, so hold on for 1 second. I didn't realize. Where is Khyati? Okay. Were you able to see her? Were you able to see Khyati properly? Oh, now Khyati has gone off camera.
Little Khyati we saw.
And Spurti is also here, and Sonia is here, and Chitra Mataji has joined us. Fantastic. Okay. So how much do we remember from Bhagavad Gita chapter 3? Anything?
Are we doing the Gita today? Okay.
You said Krishna Katha, no?
Yeah.
So Krishna Katha is not Gita? What is Krishna Katha? Okay.
Of course.
Shunvatam swakatha Krishna Punya
Shravana
Shavanakirtana
Kirtana.
Idyantasto hiya patrani vidhunoti shuhit satam Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai
Tasmai
Shri
Shri
Gurave
Gurave
Namaha.
Namaha.
Okay, so what was the Krishna Katha you wanted? You were looking for some other Krishna Katha?
No, I thought Saturday, so it's Bhagavatam. That's what it was.
Bhagavatam, yeah.
Saturday is Bhagavatam? Well, there's only Saturdays these days.
So we better change that, right?
That's why I said Krishna Katha.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was doing Bhagavatam earlier. For the last few weeks, I had done Bhagavatam when I was teaching. And that was in honor of Bhadra Purnima. And yeah, I was just happy to let you all know that this team that I serve, the corporate book distribution team, in which Apara Gorangi is a member of that team. And and so is Kathy. I'm just trying to look at the names. Yeah. And one day, hopefully all of you. So we distributed between America and India, we distributed 830 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. So that was Bhagavatam's mercy.
Mataji, I could succeed with 4 Bhagavatam sets here.
There you go. It starts with 1.
4 I
I did
did.
3.
Counting starts.
Of course, Bhagavad Gita and other books, Krishna books I did, but Bhagavatam 4 sets I did.
That's a huge. Since Kumal Rati Madhuri 3, that's huge. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
There you go. So, yeah. And now we're on to Srila Prabhupada Marathon, where the focus will be on distributing Bhagavad Gita throughout the globe. And I don't know what it's going to be, but last year, North America, I think, had a target of 50,000 or ISKCON Silicon Valley. ISKCON Silicon Valley had a target of 50,000 Bhagavad Gitas, and we smashed it. We distributed, I think, 62,000 Bhagavad Gitas starting from October and then going all the way to December, end of December. So everybody was out there distributing. Something like that will happen again. They are still on the planning stage. So it's appropriate.
We sponsored 3 Bhagavatam sets.
Fantastic.
My group 2 sets and I 1 set.
Yeah, the book distribution depends on sponsors. Yeah, we rely heavily on sponsorship, so we live on that. Yeah. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 3. What is the main focus on chapter number 3?
Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga.
Yoga?
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga. Yes. Karma Yoga. And so what were some of the things that we heard in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita? Just throw some ideas. There's no right and wrong.
Arjuna is still asking about why he's engaging him for the war.
Yes, so it actually starts with Arjuna being confused because in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, which is about Sankhya Yoga, right? And so there in Sankhya Yoga, they were talking about, he was talking about soul and the difference of the soul with the matter. And sometimes people might just think that Sankhya Yoga, well, the different levels of Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means, what does Sankhya mean?
Number,
right?
Sankhya means
Sankhya
number.
is number.
Keeping count.
Is keeping account. Exactly right? So Sankhya Yoga actually keeps account. And what exactly is it counting? It starts with counting things in the material world majorly and about what makes this material world. And they talk about, 21, 22 or 23 elements like that. So there is the 5 Panchabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, ether. There's mind, there's intelligence, senses, sense organs, like that. So it goes on. But the real Sankhya Yoga is when you also start counting the soul and you also start counting the super soul or Krishna himself. And so one of the approaches of realizing God and knowing and finding God is through Sankhya Yoga. Is when you look at what is around you and you start analyzing the world around you For example, if you look at those of you who are in India might still recognize that. I lived for many years in Delhi, and I was coming from a small town. It was a university town, and we had a hand pump in our home. Later on, they had the tap, running water and all that. But for the most time when I grew up, I had a hand pump. So I didn't even realize or understand what it means, what scarcity of water means. I had no idea, because every time you needed water, there was a hand pump. You pumped it and used it, and that's it, right? I mean, you would not waste it because you had to pump it, but it was an easy task that you could do that. And but then I moved to Delhi, and I was living on the 3rd floor. And then I understood what does it mean to have water scarcity. What does it mean to have water come only 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, and how water had to be pumped up. And there would be a pump that would pump up to the tanks up the top, and then you would get it from the tanks. And of course, if the water was there in the tank, then, and it was stored there the whole day, it would be very hot. And so when you came back home from office, you opened the tap, it would be hot water. So those are the mysteries of material world. And so we marvel ourselves as engineers to have created a pump which allows us to pump the water so that we're able to reduce the problems that people would have, having to pump a bucket of water and carry it to the 3rd floor, right? Or take it out from a well and carry it to the 3rd floor. So we talk about that. And so when we start analyzing what we see, because we are kind of geared to understand and to accept things that we can see. I mean, of course, nowadays with television and wireless and radio waves and all that kind of stuff, we still also tend to accept things that we cannot see. For example, if somebody shows you a picture on the television where it says that it's snowing in Chicago, you will believe that it's showing in Chicago, although you don't see it, right? Because you think it's coming from authenticated sources, it's CNN or whatever the television channels are. I haven't watched television for 15 years now, so I don't know the channels anymore. So anyway, so we tend to have a tendency to accept things which are around us, and then more which are, gross. The things are grossly in front of us. Well, I see a water pump running, it's making the noise, tuck, 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 and the water is going up. So you see all that. So you believe in the marvel of engineering. But Sankhya Yoga, what it tells you to do is to go a little bit deeper into and start analyzing things. And as you start analyzing things in the nature, you're bound to come across the beauties and the intricacies of this nature, of this material world. And so you will sit and you will think. Like, for example, you can go and look, you go to the seashore and you will find coconut palm trees there. You can look at a tree, you can turn your head up and you see the coconuts are there on the top. And you can break a coconut open and there's water inside. So now you have to think that a coconut palm tree also goes up to 3 stories high, almost as high as I used to live in Delhi. But who is it who's pumping the water in such a nice way that it goes inside the coconut, right? Which marvel of engineering can you apply to make that happen, right? So when you start analyzing this material world, through the process of analyzing, through the process of trying to understand these things, we will realize that there is a superior intelligence that is at work, something which is beyond us. And that superior intelligence is God. And so the Bhagavad Gita actually tells you that how you can live life in a proper way so that you can understand and reach that superior intelligence. And there is hope also in Bhagavad Gita for all of us who are usually just, kind of bound in this material body. We kind of just think of material things. All that we see around us is all material things because we don't see the soul, right? So I don't see that there is a soul in Hina's body, right? But we do know that there is a soul in everybody because when there's a death, and Sadhana Mataji recently lost her uncle. So, there's an uncle who was animating, the uncle who loved her when she was a small child, like that, right? But then something leaves the body. So there are certain indications that are happening all around us, which are pointing to the fact that there is something beyond matter and that there is spirit. And spirit is required to animate the matter. And then there is something beyond the spirit also, which is governing the spirit and determining that how long does the spirit stay in one body. And then one doesn't have to leave the body as if helplessly it has to leave the body. There's no way that when the final call comes that we can adjust it and say, I need 6 months more and will be granted like that. Right? So Sankhya Yoga was there in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita where Krishna was telling Arjuna about all these. And then halfway through, he brings in Bhakti Yoga and talks about, doing Bhakti to Krishna and that everything should be done use your intelligence in connecting with Krishna. So by the time the chapter ends, Arjuna is now thoroughly confused because Krishna has told him why he should fight war from various perspectives, demolishing all the arguments that he had given in chapter 1 about why he should not fight the war, bringing in, social reasons, compassionate reasons and whatnot, financial reasons, everything he had brought in. But then Krishna demolishes them all one by one and says no. So he's confused between here was Krishna telling him to fight, and then he goes on and says that you should do devotional service. So now he's confused. What should he do? Because he understands devotional service to be that, you put on a nice tilak, you shave your head, you put on some white garments or, yellow garments, and then you go up on the top of the Himalayas, and then you do devotional service, right? His understanding was that is what he do. So he starts with that, your equivocal statements are all confusing me. And then so Krishna, in the subsequent verses of this chapter, starts to tell him, like slowly, what is work, what is proper work. He says that when this was created, when this material world was created, there was yajna. We were supposed to do devotional service to the Lord. We are supposed to perform sacrifices for the Lord. And then he takes us slowly from there. He took us in the last few verses to the fact that Prakritriya kriyamanani gunaya karmani sarvasa ahankara vimodhatma kartaham iti manyate. So he says that that in the beginning, that those who are foolish, they think that they are the doers, they are doing everything. Although whatever happens is actually happening because the modes of material nature, they interact with each other like that. So having told Arjuna about how the foolish behave, then he also says that he also tells how the smart ones behave, right? Those who are smart and who are tattva darshana, who have seen the truth, how do they behave? And it's a very interesting. One would just think that the smart ones will behave exactly like on the surface, would behave exactly like opposite to what the foolish will behave. But that's not the case. What he says is the smart ones will also continue to do, those who are wise will also continue to do, things that might appear superficially to be the same as what the foolish do. But the reason and the intention behind what they do is very, very different. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to set an example. If you take the example of Bhishma Pitamaha was a devotee of the Lord. He was a devotee of the Lord and he had come here to take part in the pastimes of Krishna. But we know Bhishma Pitamaha from Mahabharata as a one who was always, bound to the throne of Hastinapur. He was through and through a monarch and he was ready to give up his life for Hastinapur, right? But that's not what the case is. He was there. He was there in playing that particular role because Krishna had asked him to play that role. So he's a devotee and he's doing things for Krishna, right? And through his example, he's saying that what the duty of a king is, right? So the wise people will sometimes on the superficial, on the surface of it, might appear to be doing the same things. For example, sometimes, Prabhupada, who was a sannyasi. A sannyasi means that he has given away all attachments to anything which is material. He has got nothing to do with the material world, right? He doesn't have any possessions, so to speak. But sometimes we would find Prabhupada wearing a gold ring. And then one might just doubt and say that what is this going on? You said that you're a sannyasi and you're wearing a golden ring. So where is that renunciation of the material energy? So on the surface, it might appear that even the wise are behaving like the foolish, right? Adorning their body, decorating their body, the dead body. The body is dead, right? Without the soul. And decorating it with ornaments. The real decoration is that you decorate your soul. And so one might just think that, but what was he doing? But when you look deeper into the lives of these sannyasis, why Prabhupada would do that? Why do you think Prabhupada would wear a golden ring? Someone who gave up everything and came to America. Why would he do that?
Mataji, sometimes in case of emergency, he can use it for the service of the Lord.
Okay, so he was provisioning for emergency. Okay, that could be one reason.
Because once Shri Guru Maharaj said that there was a sannyasi who used to wear the golden chain, and he used to wear it because he felt, when I die, at least for my last rites, the person who does it can use this for that purpose.
Okay, that's one reason. What could be other reasons why somebody? Sadhana Mataji has raised her hand.
Oh, so that was early on. Sorry, it's not to do with this topic. So
okay,
you can carry on. I can wait till later.
Okay, and I'll take it. Yeah, after this question is answered. Why else do you think? Why else do you think?
Married. He had been married, so it was maybe a wedding ring. I don't know.
Okay, it could be a wedding ring.
That's what I thought. So in America, usually married people, they have to wear a ring. So he was coming here. That's why he was wearing. I don't know.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Archana.
Yeah, Mataji, I'm just thinking like maybe a devotee has gifted it to Srila Prabhupada and he's just, wearing and thinking like it has come because Krishna is there in everybody's heart. So it is coming from Krishna and finally he's wearing it just to please Krishna.
Yes. And that was one of the reasons. He was wearing that ring because somebody had given it to him. And so why did he accept that ring? Of course, somebody has given the ring lovingly to him. He will accept it because it's given to him with love, right? And also, of course, everything that he does, he depends on Krishna for that. And so there are also various levels of, of renunciation that you have. And the complete renunciation is Shraddha-gati, when you have completely surrendered to Krishna. So you don't even think about arranging for your funeral or anything like that, right? I mean, he had a fantastic funeral. So also what they do is they will sometimes accept gifts from others because that act of giving a gift, who is it benefiting really? The act of giving a gift, who does it benefit?
The giver.
Giving person?
The giver, exactly. So you see, they might accept things which they are not necessarily supposed to use or necessarily want to use, but they're just doing it. So sometimes, the wise men will behave like that. So in the ordinary world, it's like, okay, you're happy with somebody, so let's give him a very expensive gift. Like, what expensive gift can you give to Srila Prabhupada? He's already given up the material world, right? What can you pick up from the material world and give it? He's giving a golden ring, but still Prabhupada is accepting that ring. And the reason he's accepting that ring is because, for the benefit of that other person. So that's why sometimes you see, if you watch the videos of Srila Prabhupada, you'll see that Srila Prabhupada, a disciple is coming to touch his feet. And Srila Prabhupada, moves his feet towards the devotee so that he can touch it. And anybody else looking at it might say, like, look at that. Where's the humility? He should have shown some humility. Somebody's coming to touch your feet. He should have just allowed him to do it from a distance. But he moves his legs and brings it closer to the devotee because he knows that devotee really needs that humility to bow down and to touch somebody's lotus feet. And touching Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet is only going to benefit the devotee. Nothing's going to happen to Srila Prabhupada. He's already exalted devotee. So here in this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna that sometimes, the wise men will behave. Like if you go to India, in some of the villages, etc., and if you're a young daughter-in-law, God forbid if you forget to touch the feet of one person, right? There'll be so many complaints about you and your parents. Right? And then they will come and complain to in-laws and say, like, you have such an uncouth daughter-in-law that she didn't touch her feet and I was there and they didn't touch her feet, right? So usually there it's the one whose feet are being touched is benefiting from that glory. But in this one, that's not the case, right? When a person is really going and touching a sannyasi's feet or exalted soul's feet, that person is being benefited. There's nothing that you can do by that act to benefit the sannyasi. They're already at a high level of understanding. So that differentiation, Prabhupada, the Krishna brings there. And having told about how foolish behave and how the wise men behave, Krishna is now going to tell Arjuna how he should behave and what level and what are his duties there. But before we go there, I just wanted to say, take care of Sadhana Mataji's raised hand.
Oh, so the only part which I was just, and this might not be relevant, so let me know if you don't want to discuss it, but when you went from the Shankya counting and philosophy, and then we went into Arjuna's question, why was Sankhya explained at that time in terms of Arjun's question? Was it that Krishna was trying to show Arjuna what was going on? Like, what was he trying to?
Yeah, so we have to understand the purpose of why Bhagavad Gita was recited, right? So Krishna says that, he will say that in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he will say that evam parampara praptam. So in that verse, he says that this knowledge of the spirit, right, and the God, he gives all the time, and through disciplic succession, it is transmitted. But sometimes over a period of time, the disciplic succession gets broken. And so when the disciplic succession is broken, he comes back again. So when the disciplic succession is broken and the Bhagavad Gita is not being propagated and pronounced, then people will fall, right? So yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So whenever there's a decline in religiosity and there is an increase in irreligiosity, he says, I come here. So we have to understand that Srila Prabhupada, Krishna, Lord Krishna comes here to tell the Bhagavad Gita. So that is his purpose. Now he does it in such a dramatic way, right? In the middle of not in a seminar, by the Ganges, but he'll tell it, right? Srimad Bhagavatam is just another dramatic moment, right? Recently, right? We like drama, right? Parikshit Maharaj is about to die in 7 days. Now let's listen to what God says. So like that. So his purpose is still the Bhagavad Gita, speak the Bhagavad Gita for everybody. And we all know that Arjun doesn't need Bhagavad Gita. He's already a devotee of the Lord, right? We are the ones who need it more than he does. So Krishna will start because there are, others who are going to be there in the future who are going to benefit. And of course, our Dhritarashtra is also listening, right? He also needs to understand that at the minimum that we know, right? So, so the reason he's going to tell him about Sankhya Yoga is that he has to start from the scratch. And also he has to start and he has to bring up the topic of the soul, because Arjuna is crying. And he's saying that how can I kill my grandfathers, my uncles, my friends, my father-in-law, so on and so forth. How can I kill them? And so Krishna has to bring in the concept of the soul and thereby bring in the concept of eternity. And to bring some peace to him that, the whole thing, this drama of life doesn't end with death and it continues, right? I mean, just close your eyes for a moment. All of you, let's do this little exercise. Close your eyes and try to imagine that if there was no soul and you died, what would you feel? And now, continue to keep your eyes closed and think that because you have a soul, how different death is going to look like. Now, open your eyes, then come back. You want to share?
Yeah, well, without a soul.
Yes, Mataji.
Let Sadhana go. It was her question. Yeah, after that, raise your hand so that I can see your answers. Yeah, see your raised hand. I can see the order. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Sadhana.
No, I was just going to say the idea of not having a soul is kind of like a blank slate. There's no feeling, there's no emotion. It's kind of devoid of life, really. It's devoid of love and everything. It's just a very undescribable, dark place. So not very nice. Yeah.
Not very nice. Okay, let's see what Chana Mataji said. Thank you, Sadhana.
I felt, Mataji, when there is no soul, I felt I'm dead or I'm alive. It is the same. I don't find any, because there's no consciousness. There's no difference. And another, when you asked about the soul, then I felt that good, I left this body who had worn out now, and now I'm happy and I'm going to the Lord, unto the lotus feet of the Lord. I have finished my karma. I'm relieved of my duties. I will feel that, Mataji, when I leave my body.
Right. So when you bring in, thank you, when you bring in the concept of soul, there is hope. And let's hear from Poonam Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
I
Krishna.
think I'm mainly confused with the question. So I'm going to repeat. You said, close your eyes and imagine we don't have soul. And if we die, what will happen? Right? Is that the question?
Exactly. And second option B, that if you have a soul and you die, what is the difference in handling death?
Yeah. So how, like, at least for me personally, I don't know I can imagine death. Because it's like asking a woman who has never experienced a pregnancy and say, hey, experience the labor pain. So I'm slightly like, was struggling. So I closed my eyes and I just couldn't feel anything because I really don't know what a death experience actually is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very hard for me to comprehend either of the options. So I'm just want to understand a little bit more, like maybe I'm not there, my journey is not that advanced, that is also quite possible, but how are you supposed to experience something which is the last step, and after that you're gone basically, so you really can't tell anybody what exactly experiencing death even means.
Exactly. Yes. So when we, very good question. And part of that is actually covered in the beginning of Ishopanishad, that small, tiny book. If you don't have, we'll arrange one to be sent to you. So there we talks about that when you get knowledge, right? So your question, your point is that I don't have knowledge of death. How do you ask me to describe death, right? So knowledge can be acquired from various places. And one of the things that I was saying in the beginning was that, again, on the Sankhya, I was saying that one of the ways you acquire knowledge is through the gross, right? You see things. And I also said that we are accustomed to believing in things that you only see, right? Or that you have experienced yourself. Like, what is labor pain? I don't know. But have you seen a lady in labor pain? If you have, then you have some idea, right? So knowledge can be acquired first-hand, second-hand, third-hand, right, from hearing also. And then in Ishopanishad, Krishna actually, Prabhupada explains very nicely that the best knowledge that you get, and it talks about, the sources and the authentic sources of knowledge, and tells you that, things that are told, that come out of the mouth of, or from the hands or pen of a material body or a material person is bound to have certain defects. And it's very interesting. I'd encourage you to read that. And because of those defects, it's difficult to believe in that knowledge. So it takes that to a higher level and say, well, you have to then believe in knowledge that comes from a source that doesn't have the defects. And the defects are defects of measurement. Like those of us who have done physics and chemistry, we always do some experiments and we prepare a report. And in the end, we just say, within the limits of instrumental error or human error and all that, I'm saying that these are the results, right? So there's always that concept of an error being creeping into things. So if things are erroneous, how can we believe in them? We don't know how much truth that is, right? For example, if the doctor says, here's a medicine and 50% of the time it'll cure you and 50% of the time it's going to kill you. Right? We don't know whether it's going to kill me or not. So we don't go that route, right? What I need is 100% thing. And so that 100% is without any errors. And that can come only from a source that doesn't have these defects of not being able to measure or reading things wrongly or having being bewildered or illusioned and seeing things when they are not there, like optical illusions, and then having a tendency to cheat. When you don't know the answer to something, you bluff and give some answer like that. So it should come from a source who doesn't have those four things. And the Shastras say that that source is God. That source has got to be beyond the material world, right? So when it comes to my answer, my question was not merely on how do you, for you to narrate the experience of death, but to look at the two situations as to, like, we all know death means that the body stops moving, stops eating, and, won't talk to us and will decay if we just leave it like that, right? So my question again for you, if you all want to do that exercise again, is that giving that situation, one understanding is that this body, there is no soul in this body. So how do you think a death would be? If I were just this body, what would death mean to me? And then if we have this concept that there is also a soul in this body, what would death mean in that situation, right? So I'm not necessarily saying that you point out, I mean, there are descriptions, by the way, in the Shastras coming from Saraswati, who gives a very nice explanation of what death actually happens at the time of death. And Bhagavatam also, fleetingly will mention. But the good thing, before we get alarmed about death, since I'm broadcasting this on Facebook, I also wanted to mention that death, the way people look at death is different, depending on, and Prabhupada gives a very nice example. He says that if you are in the mouth of a cat, then of course, how are you going to feel, right? Depends on who you are. Are you a kitten or are you a rat? So he says that similarly, those who are, because a rat knows that this is your death, it's end for me. And then a kitten, it knows that now I'm under the snug and comfortable grasp of my mom, and my mom is going to carry me from one place to another place of safety. So you see, going into the mouth of a cat is viewed very differently from who you are, depending on who you are. And so similarly with the devotees also. With the devotees, for a devotee and a non-devotee, death is handled very differently. A non-devotee does not believe in God, does not believe in soul. So for them, death is different. For a devotee of the Lord, like you saw how Varshana Mataji was narrating her thoughts on that exercise. And she said, death is coming, I'm happy. My body is getting old. I have so many responsibilities. Death is meaning my responsibilities are over, she thinks. And then she said, I'm going back. I'm coming to meet you. So you see, the complete is a very different mood of a devotee. And sometimes a devotee actually longs for death. His Holiness Bhaktacharya Swami Maharaj, who was the first ISKCON sannyasi and a famous personality for ISKCON, who was affected by the COVID virus, right? In the sense that he had to leave his body. And so it was very amazing at the time of his death that at the time of his, it was declared that COVID has been, it was very early, I think it was in July of 2020, when there were no vaccines, people were struggling with medicines, etc. And his age was about 70 years old, if I recall correctly. So and the question was that should he go on a ventilator? Should he take medicine? Should he not? Ayurvedic, allopathic, all that stuff. He just told his disciples that, my body is yours. You do whatever you want to do. Because he was not even on that plane. He used to operate on that plane. And later on, when we talked about other, when we were all talking about, and more people were telling us about Bhaktacharya Swami Katha, that, what he used to talk, what he used to share. And at some points in time, he used to pray to Prabhupada and he used to say, Prabhupada, I miss you so much. Call me back. So you see, they are on a totally different realm and they want to go to different places. Death is just, fine. It was one extra thing that I needed to do. So we just go and do that there. So it's a very different, it's a different approach. And so what I was trying to bring in was that, and I will bring that in, but I see, Mataji, you have raised your hands. Go ahead. Nisha Jariwala. I'm just kidding. Yeah. And then after that,
I was just going to say, I felt that if I didn't have a soul, there will be a void of, evolution of my progress. What would be the purpose, or what would the progress even look like? If there was no soul? So there will be just a void and a bit of a lack of purpose, I would say.
Exactly. And it's like, as they say in Bombay language, khalas. It's finished. Life is finished. There's nothing more. And then at that time, it was like, so was it worth doing whatever I had to do?
Right.
Whatever I did, materially, of course, it's never worth doing unless you engage your material things in Krishna consciousness. But unless you bring,
what would be the purpose of any sort of evolution throughout the life if there comes an end and kalas, you're done, and there was no moving forward.
Right?
Progress.
Exactly. So when the Sankhya Yoga evolves to that level that it brings in the 24th, 25th elements, soul and the Lord, at that time, That is where the hope starts. That is where the hope is, that there is a life, that all the good things that I did are going to be carried over. And that carrying over happens only on the spiritual realm. It doesn't happen in the material realm. Like that. Sutapa.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam. So, Mataji, for me, if we don't have the soul, so it's like a robot. Somebody is just giving the orders and we are following. So there won't be any fear of death, any pain or anything. So that is my realization. It is just like it's happened now. You just told, okay, you come here. So I jumped from Facebook to a Zoom call. So it's like that.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is that if there is no soul, there is no will power there.
Yes,
no willing,
we
but
will
there is
just
still
follow the order. Means it's like a robot. Yes.
Yes. But there is still something superior that is governing you then there, right? Because the soul was not there, but there was still something there that is making you go from this place to that place, right? So as you go into these philosophical, thoughts, then you are bound to hit God. And so now I see Poonam Mataji raise her hand. Now, is it a new hand or an old hand? If you have already asked your question, if you can put down your hand.
Yeah, this is a new new hand, Mataji.
Good, new hand.
Yeah. So I just wanted to understand in layman's language how one needs to think about Sankhya Yoga.
How one
like how do I think about the definition of Sankhya Yoga?
Yeah, so Sankhya Yoga is nothing but yoga means to connect. Okay, so there's Bhakti Yoga, there's Karma Yoga, there's Jnana Yoga, there's Sankhya Yoga. So yoga means to connect, and the ultimate, so connecting can happen anywhere. I'm connecting my hands with my glasses, right? I'm connecting my fingers together. You connect a bullock to the bullock cart, right? You make an internet connection, you make a phone connection, you make a LinkedIn connection, you make a Facebook connection, right? So different kinds of connection. But the ultimate connection is, what do you think is the ultimate connection?
Connecting to Krishna.
Connecting to Krishna.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the ultimate connection. So now all these Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, when we use the word yoga, we are using the word yoga in terms of the ultimate connection. So now Karma Yoga means how do you connect with Krishna? Through work. Bhakti Yoga, how do you connect with Krishna? Through bhakti, devotional service. Jnana Yoga is how will you connect to Krishna? Through knowledge. And Sankhya Yoga is how will you connect to Krishna? Through this analytical or empirical knowledge. So as you try to analyze this material world itself, like, when like Sutapa Mataji said that, okay, if I remove the soul, if I don't think about the soul, I'm just thinking I'm like a robo. Well, so then who created the robo? Who is organizing the robo? Who wrote the software for the robo to work like that, right? So as you start analyzing that, you will come to that conclusion that there is a superior intelligence. And that is, once you accept that, then that is Sankhya Yoga. Through that process, you will go. Now, it's not necessarily, well, sometimes you can just go through one route only, like Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, what a Jnani does, Jnani will pick up books. Jnani will go attend classes. Jnani will rake his brains to find out that, okay, so what is it beyond this? What is this beyond this? Why am I suffering in this world? How do I get relief from this world, from this material world? Again, he might go and do that, can reach the level of a soul, right? And can even realize that there is a super soul. There is something which is not in the control of a soul, but there are certain, so this means there is somebody who's more powerful than I am. They might even realize that. They might even realize that there is God standing in front of them. But what is missing in the life of a Jnani is to understand the Sambandha Jnana. What is my relationship with the Lord? Right? So this also goes in the, it's a progression. It's a progression. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate. Right? Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma
Sudurlabha.
Sudurlabha, right? So what does that verse mean? They say Bahunam Janmanam Ante, after many, many births, Jnanvam Mam Prapadyate, means that the Jnanis who are raking their brains and the mental faculties, they will surrender to Krishna. And once they surrender to Krishna, right? Vasudeva Sarvamiti. After that, when they surrender to God, to realize that Vasudeva is everything, to realize that their God is actually everything. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Sudurlabha. Right? So sometimes these paths will, one path will lead to another path. So there is kind of like a ladder through which you climb and you reach, and the topmost is the bhakti ladder, which is, we are here, right? But again, remember, there are different people in different journeys of at different stages of their spiritual journey. And so when Bhagavad Gita has been spoken by Krishna, he's made it into a generic language, a generic book. Right? Even when you go and start reading some of the advanced book on any subject, for example, advanced physics or advanced chemistry, usually in the first few chapters, they might just do a recap of some of the basic fundamentals or lay down the fundamentals and then go deeper into that, right? So similarly here also, Gyanis will be there, Bhaktas will be there, non-believers are also there in this world around us. And of course, there were non-believers when the Mahabharata was being taught. And then the Bhagavad Gita is also available for non-believers, and they can read that and they can go and see what happens to the non-believers. And Bhagavatam, similarly, is available for everybody to read. If you don't believe in God, okay, fine, they can go and read what happens if you don't believe in God. What are the consequences of not leading a life with God in the center? So it'll tell you all that. So to answer your question, Poonam, that is how you will look at Sankhya Yoga. You're already a Bhakta, you are in this class. But remember that there are others who would like to analyze first, and that's fine. And that's what Prabhupada says, that you can, if you want to go from, first story to the 20th story of a building, you can take the stairs or you can take the elevator. So Bhakti Yoga is the elevator. It takes you much faster to the Lord. Because here's the interesting thing is that, even when you follow all the other paths, they ultimately lead to bhakti. And you have to then pursue the route of bhakti, because until and unless you don't know what is a relationship with God, and once you realize what your relationship with God is, to live that relationship. I can know what my relationship with God is, but I can refuse to follow that relationship, right? So understand that relationship, and to live that relationship is actually Bhakti Yoga, like that. So for you, Poonam, look at that as, it's a book. We are reading the book. There are some chapters which are not applicable to you, but it's knowledge. It's good to know that process is there. Okay. And then
thank you. Thank you,
Mataji.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Vindhyavali Mataji raised her hand.
Mataji, Buddhi Yoga and Jnana Yoga, they are both different.
Good question. Krishna uses the word Buddhi Yoga in second chapter. Actually, Buddhi Yoga and devotional service are the same. Bhakti Yoga and Buddhi Yoga are the same. Buddhi Yoga means when you use your intelligence to connect with the Lord, which is actually Bhakti Yoga, right? Okay, Vaishana Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, I was reading, sorry, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sarbom Bhattacharya. You see, he is on the level of Gyan Yoga, and he doesn't, he doesn't believe in God and in the actual sense. And then you see, when he tells Gopinathacharya that you are, how can you say that God is there? He questions, and he said that I can see God in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, how can you believe that? And he has Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his head, in his house, in unconscious state. And then when Mahaprabhu explains it to him, and then he understands, and he says that I was only on the Gyan Yoga level, and now I understood that yes, you are Krishna and Krishna is in you. That was a fantastic example for this, you see. We have to come to that level by the mercy of the devotees, those who know who Krishna is. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you. That's a nice example, very nice example of transformation in the same life. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanvan Mam Prapadyate. So the Gyanvan, at the end of his series of life of pursuing yoga, ultimately surrendered and said, Ujjvala Varana Gauravana Deha, right? A beautiful song he wrote. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. Yeah. So that was kind of like, a long discussion leading up to the verse for today. And we might have to do that verse maybe more next time that we meet. Because now Krishna is telling Arjuna that how do you do that? Now, one of the things which is very interesting, and I'd like you all to, once the class is over, to go and look at look up the word or search in Google for Pascal's wager, and not in the class right now. Pascal's wager, and wager is a bet, right? Shart lagana is a bet. So Pascal tells you, and Pascal is the same, right? You know, you have heard about the Pascal, the painter, the musician, and all kinds of things. He was also physicist. So he says something very interesting. He says, like, suppose you have to put a bet. I'm going to put a bet, and everybody wants to win the bet, right? So if you want to put a bet on whether there is God or there is no God, what should you bet on? Wager is a bet. And Varshana Mataji, if you're done, just lower your hand. So which one should you bet? And he gives a very nice example. He says that person A bet on that there is God, person B bet that there is no God. And accordingly, they lived their lives. Person A said that, okay, there is a God there. I should, do certain things, and lived a life, a good man's life. Person B did not believe in God and thought that, I am the Lord of everything. I'll live the life I want to live. There's no injunctions for me. I live whimsically, and he lived his life. Now, after death, let's see what's going to happen. Let's take case A, that there is no God, right? So person B, no problem. He believed in no God, nothing, right? He lived his life, nothing. And person A, he believed that there was God, but there is no God, so that's fine. There's nothing for him to lose, right? He lived a good life. What is there for you to lose? Now take the case B, case number or situation number 2, that there is God. Now let's see what happens to A and B. B said there is no God, lived a bad life, and there is God, right? And person A believed there is God, he lived a good life. So in both the cases, you should just bet on the fact that there is God. Even if you don't know, even if it's difficult for you to believe, even if you say, I want the proof, I can't see him. How do I'm reading Sankhya, even I can't see God there, right? For example, if I were to ask it, I give that example of look at the coconut, who puts the water up there in the coconut. You might just say, science is not that advanced. One day we'll be able to do it. Like that's one way of looking at it. The other way is that, yes, there is God and who does that. And it's always in your favor to believe that there is a God there in our lives. Yeah. Go ahead, Mataji. Yes, please.
So there are a lot of people that believe there's God, but do terrible things. What happens to them?
Yes. So, and the classic story, if you don't have a Srimad Bhagavatam set, you should get one. And in the 6th canto, there's a very nice story of Ajamila. And so devotional service is, and why do bad people do good things? Why do good people do bad things? There's a whole big story behind it. There's a whole big philosophy behind it, right? It also depends on, you believe in God, but what exactly is that belief? And how at what level is your relationship with God? Some people start at the lowest level of relationship, which actually Pascal was also alluding to in his Pascal's wager. He's saying that if there was a God and you said that there is no God and I lived my life my own way and I did sinful activities, so now God is going to punish you, right? So he's taking that fear out of fear to make people believe in God, right? And that is one relationship that people have with God, that they fear him. The fear of earthquake, the fear of, floods, and the fear of, torrential rains, so this fear I might die, or fear, this fear and that fear. So out of fear, they start praying to the Lord. So that is one relationship they have with God. Second are people who might think that it's a duty to do it. They feel that they're obligated to do it, so they'll do it. They'll just do it, right? But the highest relationship that you have with God is that when you do service to the Lord out of
love.
Love. Exactly. Right? So that's the highest level of devotional service. So when people are at a lower level where they're also doing devotional service, they're also doing the wrong thing, right? So it's that thing. Out of fear, they might do devotional service, but their inner instincts or the inner desires are so strong that they will still, perform some of the bad things. But one of the things about devotional service is that it is all purifying. So when devotees are doing bad things, you know, yes, of course, a devotee should not be doing bad things. But if you see people doing a mixture of both, they're also doing devotional service, they're also doing bad things at the time, rest assured that the fact that they are doing devotional service is going to purify them. And Krishna says in the 9th chapter, Api chet suduracharo bhajte mam ananya bhag sadhur eva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantem nighachati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktya panashyati. Very powerful statement. He says that, you know, if you see somebody doing not durachar, durachar means bad behavior. He's saying sudurachar, like extremely bad behavior.
Right.
Somebody is doing extremely bad behavior, but then you don't condemn them. Why? Shipram bhavati dharmatma, that because of the fact that they're doing devotional service even for a short period of time, they will become dharmatmas. And why he says, Kaunteya pratijanehi. Kaunteya, please declare it to everybody. Pratijanehi. Let everybody know what? Name bhaktya pranashati. My devotee never perishes. So superficially, we might just see that, okay, this person did this, and, you know, they drank water underneath, they went into the swimming pool and drank water on Ekadashi day, which is today. They did things like that, but, you know, they will get purified. And I've seen that. I've seen that in people. You know, they might start with the most obnoxious behavior, but they are chanting. And the story of Ajamila is just that. You know, he was a Brahmana, he fell in love with a prostitute, married her, did all kinds of heinous crimes, even murdering people to make money for her. And in the end, he just, you know, had a son called Narayan. And in the end, he calls Narayan because he saw the Yamdutas coming to fetch him. And he calls out to his son Narayan out of fear. But because he had taken the name of the Lord, Narayan, at the time of his death, the Vishnu Dutas come in. And there's a very nice dialogue between Vishnu Dutas and the Yamdutas. And finally, the Yamdutas are defeated in argument. They cannot take Ajamil away. So devotional service itself is very purifying. So anybody is doing that. And that's why sometimes when we go out on book distribution, we ask people and we tell them that, you know, stop them. You want to take a book? No, I don't have time to read. Okay, do you have time for prasadam? No, I don't take food from unknown people. All right. Can you, you know, do you believe in mantras? Yes, I do. Okay. Can you say, I'll say, and can you repeat? Yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So what we are doing is just making them recite the word Krishna once in their life, because just taking the holy name is so powerful that taking the name of the Lord even once is going to benefit them. Even if it benefits them this little, doesn't matter, because we have lived millions of births without connection to the God. So if in a birth you get this much, then in the next birth you start from this much. You don't start from zero. And that was the hope that you get because you believe in the soul of having a soul there, right? So in the verse which we're supposed to take today, and we didn't take, but that's fine, Krishna is going to tell Arjuna that, you know, Arjuna, whatever you are doing, and it's a very hard thing he's telling him to do. He's saying, you fight the war. Very difficult to say to somebody who's saying, how can I fight with my own people? How can I kill this and that, right? My relatives. What's going to happen to the widows? What's going to happen to the young children? You know, all those things he has said and all those confusion, despite all that, Krishna is saying that you do, that you still fight the war. And up until that verse, he's been telling him that you do your work without focusing on the results. Don't focus on the result, right? So people can work without focusing on the result, but not have a God element in their lives. You can do that, right? There's nothing that prevents you. For example, a banker, a cashier who cashes the money in the bank, you know, he's just counting the money. He has no desires. The results are not his. If $1 million comes, it comes into the bank, doesn't come to him, whether he counts it or doesn't count it, right? So like that. But then in today's verse, Krishna is going to tell him that fight for me. And that is where the connection is made. And at that point, you know, your karma yoga, you know, starts to become and gets translated into bhakti yoga. That you are doing your thing. You're doing your thing for Krishna. Why would you want to do something for somebody unless you love them? Why would you want to go and kill your own grandfather unless you love somebody, right? People do that, right? They go and kill so many people because their beloved told them to go kill. People do all kinds of things for love, right? So he's saying, okay, you fight this war because I want you to fight this war. And if you love me, then you will do as I tell you to do. And but before, you can convince him to go and do something and engage in a ghastly thing as killing, right? He has to explain the philosophy behind it and as to why that killing was okay, why the killing was all right, right? And he talked about the Varna Sankaras in the 3rd chapter. Right? So Arjuna was worried about the fact that if the men are all gone and the women are not well taken care of by the elderly, and there's no rituals, etc., or no philosophy there for them, then they are going to create Varna Sankaras, that are people who are who don't have any samskaras in their life. So they are going to be just products of material nature like that. So Arjuna was worried about that. But what Krishna tells in the 3rd chapter, he kind of turns the table on Arjuna. He says, actually, these people who have come here to fight, they are the Vanshankaras. They are the bad people. You are to kill them, right? So Krishna will slowly open Arjuna's eyes. And it'll take him 18 chapters, 17 chapters to do that, to open Arjuna's eyes. And Arjuna will ask questions from all angles. But you said this, but how about this? And how about that? Arjuna will ask questions, and Krishna will answer all those questions for our benefit till the very end. Till the very end. And to
he will answer all the questions, and then he says, do whatever you want. I just told you what I'm supposed to tell.
There you go. Right? So he tells that. And so he gives that free will and the choice he gives to Arjuna till the end. And then Arjuna says, I will do it. Right? Because now he has reached that stage, and his relationship with Krishna is now, reawakened, so to speak. And he willingly does that. And he fights the beautiful war, right? And they win the war like that. So the verse number 30 is actually making that connection between, just doing work without focusing on the result to working for Krishna. And when you're working for Krishna, then anything is okay. Anything is okay. And so that is why if Prabhupada is wearing a golden ring on his finger, just so that somebody else gets a little sukriti so that he can come to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada is actually working for Krishna, even in that seemingly materialistic activity of decorating his finger with a ring like that. So I will rest my case here. It's 4 minutes past the hour. Any last thoughts? Any comments? Anything?
It's very good. Thank you.
Oh, well.
After a long time, we had a good class again.
All right. Yeah. But anything you're taking away from this class, it makes you find it's a good class? And Sonia Mataji switched on a video.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice.
Can I say what to take away from this class?
Yes, please. That's what I'm looking for.
That we start the classes back on Monday.
You have to find me a new job.
That's a good idea, Mataji. I agree with you.
Those who distributed Bhagavatam sets are supposed to teach. I always tell you that get together, read on your own, keep your questions, and then, we can meet on Saturdays for now. There's Prabhupada Marathon that is coming. Oh, that reminds me that next Saturday, I'm going to be in a home. I'll be giving a lecture from their home. And I will broadcast it on Facebook, so you won't miss. And there'll be Kirtan, etc. also there. I don't.
Not on Zoom. It's not Zoom.
It won't be on Zoom. I'll have to see how the connections are. It's possible to have it on Zoom also. Let's see.
So when is it? Saturday?
Next Saturday. I think it's next.
But Saturday is our class, no? We are reserved here. How can you go somewhere?
You should be like omnipotent, like Krishna, like Krishna's devotees.
You want to see a Krishna devotee? You are seeing a Krishna devotee on your screen now here.
Mataji, we are seeing you and Sukomal Radhe Mataji.
Oh, she's feeling sleepy.
Oh, she's sleepy. Yeah.
Yeah. Here you go.
Hello.
Hare Krishna.
Radhe Radhe.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Shraddha Mataji, for a wonderful class.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you for your questions, everybody. Yeah,
Thank you.
Very nice questions. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
And Keshvi. Keshvi.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
He's looking at everybody.
Very nice. I'm so happy.
That's
Kesh,
baby?
Yeah, Keshvi listened to Bhagavad Gita. She listened to Bhagavatam when she was in her mother's womb. And no wonder.
Yes.
Yeah, we are waiting to
Yeah,
hear.
we got service now also to join the Bhagavatam calls. So we are very happy to have that. And devotee association. So
There you go. Yeah.
thanks to Preeti Vilasni Mataji who made such good songs that we can sing it to her.
Yes, I was admiring that song. Yeah, that you were singing.
Yeah, that song was
Only
Yeah,
a leaf.
Mataji, there are so many like that. I'm learning and I'm singing to her.
The beginning, she was smiling too.
Yeah.
That song.
No, she loves that. So
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have to leave. So thank you so
Hare
much for
Krishna. Yes, 11
Hare
o'clock.
Krishna.
East Coast time. 10
Hare
o'clock.
Krishna,
Yeah, our
everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank
Krishna.
you
Hare
so much.
Thank you all
Krishna.
so much.
Dandavat
you.
Pranam. Hare
Thank you very
Krishna.
much. Thanks to
Thank
everybody.
you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.